And the air conditioner is actually working outstanding. It's 59 degrees outside, and it feels like it's about 55 degrees in here. So to answer your questions on how the air conditioning is working in this air-cooled 911, really well. This is a little harsh on the left front. It doesn't feel quite right. Maybe it's because the shock is here on the floor, attached to the front wheel. That could be part of the problem. But it goes with the car. See that? When was the last time you saw the left front suspension, brake, wheel, and shock inside the car? Never know when you might need it.
A deal to be had on one of the sexiest, most beloved vehicles of all time. A black 1976 Porsche 911S. That what did they call it? Air-cooled? The air conditioning? What did they call it? I forget the words they use. But there's no front windshield. That's why the car is cooled very well. I want to talk about this piece of junk to start things off here with Matthew Guy. He's a reporter at driving.com, and he's on the line. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Okay, Matthew, fill the listeners in here. Why is this 1976 Porsche 911S so special?
Well, the people who found it, they're a company that buys and flips and sells cars. They have a pretty prominent YouTube channel, and they came across this thing apparently partly covered with sand and partly covered with construction equipment and things of that nature, and it had been, covered up like that for a very long time. So they came across this and they hauled it out and they did some of the YouTube videos on it, like you just showed there then, and had a bit of fun with it because it's really just a shell of a car. There's not much Porsche left to it, It's Porsche in name only at this point, let's call it.
Okay, so and it's sold for what, $850, which is a far cry from what it would fetch if it was in good condition.
Absolutely. Sold for $850 US on a auction website that deals with collector cars. So I guess the people who run that site saw the uniqueness of trying to sell something that's absolutely, completely just a shell, and a battered shell at that. So I guess they thought that was a good idea, and it was. It got a lot of traction on that website, and then both the buyer and the seller ended up being pretty prominent YouTubers, and they've been making some hay with this, in terms of making videos and such.
Okay, so it's a car that can only be bought if you're a content creator. Otherwise, not so much. Matthew, let me just ask you before I move on. I want to get to this Tim Hortons topic, but what would be your classic car, your dream classic car? What would be the car that you'd want to hunt for on an auction site?
Oh, I would love to have something from the early 1970s, maybe a 1970 Chevelle or a 1971 Barracuda. Those cars, they just have so much style and they sound fantastic when you start them up.
I was just on a road trip to Halifax, and I'm staying at a family member's house out there in Halifax, and down the street, this car comes down and parks right in front of the house, and it was a 1964 Corvette convertible, red. And it was just to die for, Matthew. So maybe I think that's the one I'd take right now. But there is something about classic cars. Okay, so Matthew, tell us the real news story here about Tim Hortons. They have a plan with regards to electric vehicle chargers for their restaurants. Tell us more here.
Yeah, so Tim Hortons, it has locations all over the country, and everyone, there's one within walking distance of many places in urban areas especially, but their reach is so huge that it does seem to be a pretty good match to install some EV chargers in the parking lots of these places. The plan is right now to install about 100 of them by 2028, so over the next 2 or 3 years. And the neat thing about these chargers, they are from a company called Flow, with which you guys are familiar in the Montreal area. And they can offer up to, depending on how good the car is at sucking up electricity, over 100 kilometers of range in 10 minutes. So by the time you go in, get your double-double, and come back out, it's a pretty good way of juicing up your electric car whilst you're doing something you might be doing in the morning anyway.
And I can see why this would work because, Matthew, on my road trip, I ate at Tim Hortons once on the road trip. And the reason why I ate at the Tim Hortons is because the Tesla supercharger was right next to a Tim Hortons. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, my BLT was pretty sad. I have to be honest. Like it didn't make the BLT any better. It was still a sad BLT. But knowing that I had to stop and spend, it's gonna, you want to eat, you want to go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. That's 20 minutes, 30 minutes that you're going to spend inside of Tim Hortons. So I guess that's a great way of getting some people on your property that need to stay there for a bit of time to charge.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we always talked about first when these fast chargers started being built around Canada was that a lot of it was a land grab, because you had people putting chargers in prominent places where people were going to stop anyways. And that's definitely something that would happen with Tim Hortons because a lot of people will, stop in there on their road trips like yours down and back to Halifax. And this company intends to open up about a dozen of them by the end of 2025. So we should be seeing them in some major markets. And they hope to have them in all 10 provinces. So, that might be a good story angle to go across country and only charge your EV at Tim Hortons.
Oh, my
charge
goodness.
yourself and your EV at Tim Hortons. Right?
Yeah, forget the Tesla supercharger network. It'll be the Tim Hortons charger network. And, of course, they're across the entire country. Do you think we're going to see more deals like this, Matthew? In the States, I've seen a plethora of deals like this, like Buc-ee's and other chains where they do this kind of thing. Should we be seeing more of that in this country?
And I do think that some of these tie-ups they make a ton of sense. Some energy companies as well, you mentioned Halifax and the East Coast. So, I mean, Irving stations down that way, especially in New Brunswick, have gotten into the game by putting good, well-lit, clean, working EV chargers in their Irving stations, not replacing pumps or anything, but they have such an amount of land with which to work that they can easily put 3 or 4 charging stations on the periphery of their location and not really impact people who are going there to buy gasoline. So I do think you're exactly right. These types of tie-ups are going to become more and more frequent, especially we know that right now the take rate on EVs is leveling off. Well, it's still growing, just not at the leaps and bounds of what it was, right? But, the EVs and plug-in hybrids and things like vehicles like that can also take advantage. Some of them can take advantage of these types of chargers as well.
Well, I got to tell you, Matthew, I'm a convert. The best road trips in my life have come in EVs. So I think if you've got a great network behind it, it really can work. Matthew, I got to leave it there. I want to thank you for hopping on today.
Thank you for having me on today. Thank you.
It's Matthew Guy. You can check out his writing on driving.com.